Hey everybody, Pinch Out here, and yeah, we're gonna do another one, finish off what we started yesterday, putting in the pistons, the cranks, and all that. So right now I'm just trying to get this stuff going right now, so just give me just a moment. But I'm feeling a lot better today, had a really good night's sleep. What's going on, Rob? So definitely feeling really good today. Feeling like I can finish a block. So we're going to be moving over to my right, so we can finish up the installation of the pistons and the rods. So give me just a moment. I got to clean up my little spot here. But you know, this allows you guys to join in. What's going on? What's going on, Sparky? So again, I'm just cleaning up my mess, so give me a moment, guys. So tonight, we're going to learn how to gap piston rings. That's all on the other side of the block. So, we're going to gap them, we're going to set them, and we're going to install them. So it is an entire procedure, but done right, worth its weight in gold, pretty much. So we're gonna bring you guys over here to the right. So give me just a moment. You guys are gonna see a little bit of a jitter. I'm gonna slide you guys over to my other workstation. Awesome. See, my little fab like thing I fabricated worked out really good for my little shop here. I can move the camera around and everything. Love how it ended up turning out for me. Very useful. All right. Gotta get a chair, get some gloves. Ow. So, if you guys are here, please comment. If you guys have any questions, this is a slow procedure. First, we're gonna assemble the rods, and then we're gonna go and show you guys how to do piston rings. Because I need the rod and the piston installed before I go any further. What's going on, Rick? What's up, Tiny? Yeah, man, last night's sleep was amazing. Had a really good night's sleep. My back felt so much better. So I'm working. I'm feeling good. You guys, hopefully this view is really good for you guys. I know it's not super up close, but I think it'll work for everybody. So I have my rods all organized. Cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4. I cleaned them all off so you guys can see how beautiful these pistons end up looking. Super clean. Pretty much 2 hours in a chemical dip and they clean up beautifully. If you guys can see that. Such a clean piston. So they're shiny because I coat them in an assembly lube. It's just part of my habit of pretty much putting things together. I always pre-lubricate them. I don't want to have any type of oxidation to start, especially when you clean aluminum. It immediately starts to oxidize, so we want to try to prevent that as much as I can. That's kind of odd, Rob. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I leave chat on all the time, so Don't have an answer for that. So right now I'm coating the guide pin with assembly lube, getting it ready. Gonna insert it into the piston. Then the rod. Rods don't have an orientation on which way they install, so you don't have to worry about that. There's no one side over the other. So now, first one's done. We'll install the clip in a little bit, but we're just going to proceed and get them all going. There's a rod knocking at your door. Not here, man. All my motors are still pretty good. All the ones I built. And my current motor, my motor in my car has hit already 40,000 miles on a lot of boost. And I beat the crap out of that car in a daily. There we go. Next one. Cylinder 1, cylinder 2. Now the guide pins should be pretty easy to install. They should not have a lot of effort for sliding them in. If they do, definitely recommend double checking lubrication or any weird wear inside the pinhole or the actual rod itself. Just a precaution. Alright, all four are installed. Now the next step is to put in the locking clip. There's a couple ways you can do it. There's actually a special tool. That is the next thing I got to buy down the road from my set of tools. So you can just push them, slide them in. I still haven't figured out the actual proper tool to remove them. I just always grabbed a little plier and pulled them out. But there has to be an easier way to install and remove them. I know there is an easier way for installing them. I just don't know of an easier way to remove them. Alright, so we'll move all these guys over. So next step is to get one of these little clips. These little guys right here. Now what you want to do is make sure that the opening is away from the notch. And then what I use is a set of needle nose pliers. It's a nice small set. And you start it in here at an angle. What's going on? What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. The part I don't like to do. Thanks for coming in and watching, guys. So right now, this is kind of the slow part. There's not much of excitement going on right now. When we get to the next step is where it's all fun and slow. All right, one done. Next one. Yep, wrist pins. I despise doing them by hand. I gotta buy the tool. There's a special tool to do these, and I just always, in the back of my mind, when I do them, I keep forgetting to buy the stupid tool. It's not an expensive tool. I just forget. You know, I have like 4 jobs, and like, you know, one of them prioritizes over the other sometimes. Here's number 2. So the method that, or the madness to installing these, again, is like getting them at an angle and walking them in. I know it's kind of hard to explain, but you have to get them in sideways and grab one end with the plier like this. And then what you're doing is you're trying to get it in at an angle and scooping them downward, I guess. Kind of, hey, what's going on, Vin? Yes, wrist pin retainer. Thank you. Thank you, JT250. That is the name. So I keep forgetting to get it. It's super annoying. And it's such a cheap tool. 213 videos. If you want to donate, go to my Indiegogo campaign. Type in Indiegogo on Google. And then when you go to the website, Indiegogo, look up Pinche Al's Garage. We are taking donations for the next season at Pinche Al's Garage. So any little bit helps, guys. Any donation, anything from $2 or more, please, please, please donate, because it's helping us do the next season. I am officially like just out of cash, so I am asking for everybody's help and support for the next season at Pinche Al's Garage. The only reason why we have so much content being created is for all these people that are coming in and getting their motors built for free by me, and Patreon. But on the other side of my channel, which is the normal stuff, I don't have anything coming for the next season. So anything you guys can do to help us out would be super beneficial. You know? This wrist pin wants to keep sliding out. Alright, move that one over for right now. I'm actually in San Diego area, buddy. Not that far from you. Alright, number 3 done. See, sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I don't. Yeah, man, I'm an hour and a half away. I actually grew up in LA, by the way. I grew up in Compton, Santa Ana, and Long Beach. So I know my areas. I grew up in the hood. ¿Qué onda, Luis? You don't have to pay me, dude. I don't do work for money. I do more of a. I don't do work for money. I do work because I'm helping the community. That's how this engine is being built. This guy isn't paying me a single dollar. He's paying me in gratitude and in DIYs for you guys. I'm on the last pin, guys, just so you guys know. I know gratitude don't pay the bills, but for me, it's more than enough money for me. If you guys want to donate, please, again, go to my Indiegogo and donate for the next season of Pinchal's Garage. Awesome, 1SIG-VW. I will get that out to you once I check it out. I had a couple orders come in today, by the way. So, through my merch site. We actually got some new product coming out soon too, guys, so stay tuned for that as well. We have a new Mark IV t-shirt coming out, and we have some Mark IV strut caps coming out as well. We got a couple new designs of products, so again, guys, stay tuned for that. I'm almost done, okay? And we'll get to the next part. This is a boring part. There we go. Alright, she's in. Yay! Yeah, 213. I'd love to meet. I'm off Friday and Saturday. Hit me up, buddy. Saturday, we're going to be waxing me, Tiny, and Rob. If you're close, yes, you can save on shipping if you buy from my website. Pay for the shipping, okay? Don't worry about paying for the shipping. I'll refund it to you immediately. Just make sure when you place your order, you tell me that you're going to do a local pickup, and then we will refund you your shipping costs, and then you can come pick up the item. Just don't be, again, shipping, don't worry about it. We can always fix that. We always do. Nice. Yep, that book is super important. All right. So all pistons are done. Let's get to gapping some piston rings. We're going to be gapping some piston rings. Oh, I got to move these over here because we need to put them over here. All right. So we're at 29 days left for the campaign, and we haven't even raised $1,000. It sucks. But, I mean, it's the world that we live in right now. I mean, not a lot of people have a lot of money, man. It's and I understand that, and it shows. I mean, it shows that it's difficult to raise a lot of money for a big campaign. You know, I know it feels like I know $15,000-$20,000 is like a lot of money, and I agree, it is a lot of money, but that's what we need to make an entire year of content. Yes, 213. 1SIG-VW. Actually, I'll have some more kits later this week. I just actually waiting for my parts to come in. So, again, $15,000 to $20,000 is a lot of money to raise, but we have almost 13,000 subscribers on this channel, and all we need to raise is ask for $2 per subscriber. That's all we're trying to do, is get $2 per subscriber, and that will help us so much on making it happen. But again, it's not going to happen if we don't all chip in and help everybody raise awareness on my channel to help out, you know. Christopher, yes, these are stock rods with stock pistons. As you can see, 100% stock. The build that we're doing for stock specifications. Yes, I am going to show you guys the part number of the piston rings. Don't worry about that. That's all coming. So, I only use Getz. I know it's Goetz, but it's pronounced Getz. Dan213 hooking it up with the $10. Thanks, buddy. This is the rings that we only use here in PCL's Garage. I don't use any other brand of piston rings for stock or high performance rebuilds. These piston rings are pretty much what you want to put in your motor. There's a lot of cheaper stuff out there. Don't do it. Don't risk rebuilding your motor again. Do it right. Buy it once and do it right. That way you don't do it twice. This is the part number that we use. These are not oversized. These are stock size. These are stock size piston rings. We don't oversize it. The block did not require to be oversized, so we're good. So I'm gonna get my ring grinder down right here, and I gotta give big thanks to Ian. Ian's the one who's supplied us with a brand new piston ring grinder. So we have to gap the piston rings per cylinder, okay guys? Not just one cylinder in general. Every cylinder is worn differently, so you have to focus on each cylinder as an individual, okay? So you get 3 different types of piston rings, okay guys? There's an oil ring, a compression ring, and a compression ring. There's 2 compression rings, 1 oil ring. The oil ring is different from all the rest. It's a 2-piece ring, if you guys can see that. It's like a little spring, and then this super light one. Now, this really, really light piston ring right here, okay guys, is super fragile. This thing breaks like nothing, so be very careful with this ring. Then we have a secondary piston ring. This is the compression. Now this one is different as well as the other primary compression ring. You'll see right here, and then if you look at the bottom of the ring, it has a lip, okay? This is how you know this is the secondary ring. And then we have our top compression ring. Now this one again is also a little bit different looking. You'll notice it's polished on the sides, and it has a perfectly flat top and bottom, okay? Now, how do you know what's the top and what's the bottom of the piston ring? Cool thing about Getz piston rings, they label them. You'll notice a really tiny font, GOE, right there. That is the top of the piston ring. So when you install this, okay, you install that font facing upwards, not the bottom. Same with this one. They follow the same formula. It even says it here, GOE, and then right here it says top. That's how we know how to install this piston ring, okay? Now, the oil ring, same exact thing. It has the font on the top, nothing on the bottom. So we know that this ring has to be facing the lettering face up. That is very, very critical for your installation process of piston rings, okay? So we're going to slide you over to the block, and we're going to show you guys how to gap piston rings. what would be the ballpark horsepower I could make if we were to build a stock block with all new stock? If you're doing 100% stock block, 300 horsepower is your limit. Technically, it's not the horsepower, but it's the torque. 300 foot-pounds of torque is what your limit is on a stock block. If you drop in rods and intake and exhaust valves, up to 500. And that, again, that's really pushing that engine. So we're going to slide over now to the next spot, guys. So give me just a moment. All right, here we go. So the way, again, I do, and how I say, not how I do, but how I read my block. This is the front of the engine. So this is cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4. So right now we're working on cylinder 1, which is this guy right here. So we're gonna gap number 1, our oil piston ring, and what we do is we install it nice and slowly by itself. Okay, and what you want to do is not grab, but with your fingernail, evenly push it down slowly, just a little bit. Okay, and grab your piston. Dan 213, woo! You're gonna grab your stock piston with no piston rings on it, and we're gonna put it in. And what this is gonna give me is the ability is to slide it down evenly, and you want to go about 2-3 inches down, about halfway. If you want, you can go a little bit further. Okay. Don't go too far down because your gapping will be inaccurate. I know, right, Luis? It does look small in comparison to a VR. What's funny though, the VR is only about 3-4 inches wider. It's not that much drastically larger, which is pretty impressive. So now that the piston ring is in there, all the way down, we're going to grab our master gauge tool. Okay. Now, if you guys don't have feeler gauges like this, invest on a really good set of feeler gauges, because these are pretty much what going to tell you how to measure your gap of that one piston ring, which is down here all the way on the right side. Remember where you lined up the circle, because that's where you have to gap it. Okay, so now we're going to open up our Holy Bible, aka the Bentley Bible, because this tells us exactly the information that we need. Okay, each piston ring has its own gap, just so you guys know. They're different from each other. All right, so, and you'll see there's actually if you guys want the page, it's 13A-15, so you guys can see with me on the same page together. So there is for top, bottom compression, and oil scraper ring. So these are all the engine codes and the actual gap required to gap the ring. So for 1.8 AWP AWW, we require 0.03 or 0.06 millimeters. If you have your tools set in standard, 0.0012 or 0.0024. All right, and pretty much your limit is 0.15 to 0.0059. That is the maximum gap you're allowed when gapping the oil scraper. Yep, the Bentley speaketh all the truth. That is correct, Banging. You're supposed to change the gap based off of how much boost, or aka heat, that you're going to generate. This is a 100% stock engine. We're not worried about going beyond stock gapping. Now, if you're going to try to figure out how much gap you're supposed to do when you're going to big power, you talk to your ring, your piston ring manufacturer, or a actual like company that builds like high performance engines, like Integrated Engineering, that I know of. Yeah, I think Integrated Engineering still makes crate engines for 1.8Ts. Hit them up. They'll give you actually different ratings based off of boost that helps you gap the piston rings correctly for high boost applications. 213 Amazon buddy. Now, if you want a digital copy, I can get you a digital copy later. Hit me up on Facebook, and I can give you a link to my digital library of all the Bentley manuals. Actually, guys, just so you guys know, I have Bentley manuals all the way from Mark 1 to Mark 6, I believe, now available for free to download on my Google Drive. So I'm going to give you guys a link to that. So if you guys need Bentley manuals for all different cars, I have a bunch of them now. So we gotta go from 0.03 to 0.06. So we gotta find that. Zero, 3, 2, 5, 1, 2, there we go. Nope, a little too big, so we gotta double check it. Yeah, this book is massive, guys. Louis spitting out 2 reams. That's a lot of paper, buddy. You should have did double-sided. I'm just trying to get this measurement right, guys. Give me just a moment. That's funny. There we go. Oops. And this is where it becomes a little bit of a problem when measuring gap, because what happens is when you try to put the gapping tool, not the gapping tool, but your measuring, it's gonna try to push it down, and it's kind of annoying because you got to be careful with that. So 0.2 is too small. I mean, still too small. So got to get there to the bigger size. Not 0.2, I mean 0.02. It's requiring 0.3. Let's see here, 0.24. Yep. Confirm this really quick. And we're within spec. Woo! So, first piston ring is legit. So we're within specification now. What you got to do is bring it back up and take your sweet time and do not allow this to bend in any way, shape, or form, because you can snap the ring. It's okay if it scrapes, just don't let it go sideways. That's all we got to ask for. Alright, so now we're in the middle compression ring. We're going to bring it over here now, because the light's a little bit better on this side. Alright. We're going to go straight down. Right there. Alright, so now for the secondary compression ring, aka the bottom compression ring, they're asking for 0.6 to 0.9, 0.06 to 0.09 on the size. I think I used my other gauge tool for this one. Let's see. Here we go. Too tight. I'm going to have to open it up. So I'm just making sure. Let's see. 0. Here we go. 2.4, 1.5. By the way, if you aren't a Patreon yet, consider subscribing. Lots of exclusive videos, build content. Yep. And the chance to win a VR6 fully built Jetta as well. The only way you can win that car, though, is becoming a Patreon member. Give me a second, guys. I got to go check something really quick. I will be right back. I gotta double check something because I think I mix up one number. Okay. Alright, got my numbers a little mixed up. So thanks for waiting, guys. Wanted to make sure. So didn't want to get an inaccurate reading. 6, let's see, 11. Why do I keep reading this wrong? Every single time I read these gauges, I always read them wrong, and then I'm off. 013. See, my confusion right now is I can't remember if the top number is millimeters or the bottom one is millimeters. It's been a while again since I've read this one. But I just don't remember if it's top is millimeters and bottom is inches, or the other way around, millimeters to inches. It's been a minute, so I'm trying to just make sure. Okay. Finally. So 0.6. I'm not panicking anymore. Now it's gonna find it. I think it's on my other side. 307. What's going on, Dub Invasion? What's up, buddy? I'm just lagging on this motor build right now. Here you go. Ha! Perfect! God, I love these piston rings. They're always freaking good. I never have to gap them very often. I get my hands covered in oil right now. Not good for moving gauges around. Alright, so this one's good. The secondary compression ring is magnifique. Now we're on the top compression ring. The top compression ring uses the exact same specification as the bottom one, which it's a little bit more gap on that one. So let's make sure we're good and tight. Just a little snug, but we're there. Oh man, you guys are buying from my online store. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've had a slow week, so I appreciate you guys shipping in on the online store. So we are within specifications for the first set of pistons. So we're going to put these away and work on piston number 2 now. So what I always do is I label each piston ring set for which cylinder it belongs to. So this is cylinder number 1. We're set. Everything's within factory specifications. We're not too far or not too little. So as long as we keep it within the specs, you don't have to grind them down. The only time you have to grind these guys down is when you go, if they're under spec, then you have to open the gap and then go from there. So piston set number 1. Like I was saying earlier as well, when you guys do this, make sure you use the piston that you're going to use per cylinder. Don't use the same piston in every cylinder. Use that one that belongs to that one. Do not change them. That way everything has its own home. Everything belongs where it's supposed to be. So now we're working on our next set. It's such a slow process, but we got to get it done. So now we're on cylinder 2. Now if you want to speed up the process, you can open up all your packs of rings, put all the oil rings in, push them all down, gap, 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 and go to the next one. Gap, 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 go to the next one. So for the oil is 0.03, so a little bit smaller gap. Ooh. We got a gap of 0.03 to 0.06 on your oil compression ring. So remember that. So if you go 0.3 and it fits, and you go to 0.4 and it barely fits, you're pretty much within specifications because it's smaller than that. Yep. We good. I love these rings, man. These rings always give me great results. I never have issues with these rings. A 3.6, I would probably put that, you know, I'm gonna say something a little how can I say, kind of against what I believe in, because I have one and I want to do it. I would put one in a Tacoma, an old school like 90s Toyota Tacoma. Not even kidding, bro. I've been really wanting to build the Tacoma that we have. I have an old 97 Tacoma that I want to build, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to put a VR in it, or a 1.8T. A Chevy S10 would be dope, but I mean, if you look at an S10 and a Tacoma, they almost look identical for their year, for the 90s. You know, that's the prime era of 90s mini trucking, and I've been wanting to do that forever. All right. Just a little bit bigger than stock, but we're still within factory specifications. Top piston ring is the same spec as the bottom one. Ooh, a little on the snuggy side. Let's see, I'm going a little bit bigger. We good. Just a little oversized, but not bad. All right. Second set of piston rings. No grinding required. Woo! Dude, I'm lucking out tonight. If I go 4 for 4 tonight, I'm gonna go to the casino. I've never had a full set of piston rings ever not get require grinding. Never. So I'm curious what's gonna happen tonight. Mini trucks suck. Dude, I love mini trucks. I'm sorry, man. But you know, everybody has their own, favorite thing out there. And I love, I will tell you one thing. Okay, guys? This is like my forbidden sauce. So, there's one car that I would sell my Mark IV for in a heartbeat. If I can get one in really good condition. I would actually buy it if I can find one in a very fair condition. And that would be a 91 Toyota MR2 first gen turbo. I'm not even kidding you guys. That is still currently my my go-to car one day. I really want a MR2 first gen turbo. My buddy had one. What part of LA did I was born in? I was born in Orange County. So I was born in Mission Viejo, Orange County. My family, pretty much, we moved to the very first time that I can recall was Santa Ana first. In the early 80s. Not early, I mean late 80s. And then from Santa Ana, we moved down to what they call 4-way or 4th Street in Compton. And I lived there for a couple years. And it was really bad. Then we moved back to Long Beach, the LBZ. We moved to Long Beach. I forget what street it was in Long Beach. And then we moved back to Santa Ana. And then that's when I actually got shot in a drive-by at Letro Middle School. Letro Middle School. I got shot in the leg. And then that's when my mom kind of said, hey, we need to leave Orange County, aka Santa Ana. So we moved from all over the place. And then from Santa Ana, we moved to, I believe we moved to Calexico, California, down south. From Calexico, we moved back to Vista. And there was, 4 of us. We lived in my aunt's house for like 1 or 2 years in the living room. It was me, my little brother, my older brother, and my 2 cousins. We all slept in the living room for 2 years until my mom was able to get a good enough job, and then we had our own apartment. And then we moved to somewhere in Vista called Newport Apartments, and I lived there for a long time in Vista, California. And then pretty much that's where I grew up until out of high school. I lived in Vista, California pretty much from I think I was 10 or 11 or 12, I can't remember, until out of high school. And then out of high school, pretty much there's a lot more about my history you guys don't know, but I've had a really, really rough young years. Right, Kenny? I agree. There's always a Newport apartment. I believe that. So pretty much from 17 years old, 16 to 17, I lived on my own. I was actually kicked out of my home at a very young age for a reason. I guess since this is old news, I'm very protective of my brothers, and all you guys should be, your brothers and your sisters. And my mom's boyfriend of the time, my little brother was an idiot. I'm just giving you guys a heads up on that. My little brother was just a complete idiot when he was young, and he was growing the marijuanas in the backyard. All right, so he got caught by my mom's boyfriend growing the marijuanas. And my mom's boyfriend caught him. My little brother was an idiot and tried to argue with him and saying that it wasn't his fault, someone blah blah. He's like, no, we caught you. He caught you red-handed. My little brother should have just stopped right there and end the argument. But it went a little further and it got aggressive. I saw it. My mom's boyfriend kind of like tried to choke him. So me being, the older brother, I got to do something about it. So I am not the best person when it comes to anger. I am not an angry person, number one. You guys will probably never see me angry ever. But number one, Pinche Al was like super ripped in high school. I worked out every single day. I used to run, dude, every morning, like 5 miles, bench. I was a ripped little teenager, just to give you guys a heads up. I actually had 2 PE classes, and then I had a full workout, like set up gym at my house, and I worked out every single day. I was ripped. So just giving you guys a heads up on that. So I was very strong and everything. So I saw the whole situation happen. I enraged again. Family, brother being hurt, got to do something about it. So, Pinche Al rage. I call it Mexi rage. I beat the living crap out of my mom's boyfriend. And when I mean I beat the living crap out of him, I broke his nose, I broke his arm, and I broke his foot. And again, I'm not a good person with anger, so I'm not proud of that, just so you guys know. I am proud that I was able to take care of my brother, him being hurt, but I should have stopped. Because of that, I got kicked out of my house. You know, I got kicked out immediately. I couldn't go anywhere. I lived on my own. So, not having a job, well, I did kind of have a job, but it wasn't like a real job. So, I got kicked out on my own. Pinche out, working at a video store. You know, that way I was working at Hollywood Video, if you guys remember that place. And then so I beat the crap out of the guy for hurting my brother, but I went too far and I got kicked out. So I'm on my own. No, it wasn't me to my brother. It was me to my mom's boyfriend. My mom's boyfriend was literally choking my little brother because he was growing weed in the backyard, and there was a lot of it. It wasn't like a little bit. It was a lot of weed. And he was growing some plants on the roof on top of just the backyard. So my little brother got in an argument with him, saying it wasn't him, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, started choking him out or hurting him. I flipped out. I pushed my brother out of the way, just started wailing on the dude just as hard as I could. Again, ended up breaking his nose, breaking an arm, and breaking a foot. Again, I enraged like no tomorrow because it's just my brother being hurt, and my little brother. Not I have an older brother too, but my little brother being hurt. Enraged, okay, whatever. He didn't file any, you know, lawsuit or anything like that, but he kicked me out of the house, and pretty much ever since I've never been home. Just so you guys know, I've never been home since I was 16 years old. I lived on the streets for almost 3 years. This is something you guys didn't know about me. I was homeless for almost 3 years. A lot of people didn't know that. And then on top of being homeless, I was actually a big drug addict. A lot of people don't know that either. You know, again, this is the past, so history is history. What was is done. But yeah. So I was, you know, not, you know, being homeless and whatnot, and, you know, doing drugs was kind of like the smartest thing to do when you're dumb. So again, I was in a pretty big rut. You know, growing up as an adult, I did whatever I had to do, you know, to stay alive, pretty much. If you guys ever lived in Vista, California, and know about the Vista High School, actually, what's funny, right here is the high school. A block down the street was a Walgreens. I used to work at that Walgreens. I used to live right behind the Walgreens, next to the dumpsters. Right behind the Walgreens was like a locked container where they put all their storage containers. I legitimately built a fort, okay? A fort made of totes. And I lived back there for almost 2 years. No one knew about this, by the way. A lot of people thought I lived still at home or with friends, but I lived there in that little spot. My store manager, Mr. Green, super cool dude, every morning would buy me a cup of coffee or like a drink and breakfast every morning. You know, he'd be, hey, I'll get ready to go to work. And I'm like, all right, Mr. Green. And I was a cashier there. And, you know, sometimes I'd be strung out, if you guys know what that means. You know, and going to work. Mr. Green knew I was doing bad stuff. He kind of motivated me to get away from it. But what really stopped all of that was my wife, Carlene. Because of her, I stopped who I was. And now because of her, I am who I am now. And I owe my life to my wife, honestly, 100%. Craziness. But yeah, man. Pinchao was a crazy kid. Doing crazy stuff. So my wife pretty much didn't know I was doing the bad stuff. I played it off, you know. I was a scrawny kid to begin with in high school, so I was scrawny in general, so she didn't know I was doing stuff and I was skinny for a reason, you know. So we started dating and whatnot. Again, her not knowing, me being bad, and then just out of nowhere, I just stopped doing it, man. I wanted to keep her happy, so I didn't want her to know about my history and whatnot, so I didn't do it. I stopped doing it, and because of that, I am the person I am now. Nice. Man, I'm going 4 for 4, guys. This is the 4th one, and they're all within specification. This is nuts. Oh yeah, story has a happy ending. You guys are watching me do car stuff. You know? You guys are learning with me. Alright, last piston ring, guys. What do you guys think? You think it's going to be accurate? We'll see. Let's see. We're in the last one. 4 for 4, guys. Dude, I'm going to have to play the lottery if this thing is... if this thing had... No way! Ding! This thing is within spec too! Jeez! That is nut. 4 for 4 sets of piston rings. Freaking nuts. All within factory specification. This is why I love this brand, man. The brand's legit. Oh man, ain't no inspiration, dude. Just another guy. Just another guy that has a lot of fun with people on YouTube and in real life. And just trying to make friends, man. Make friends with cars. Alright, so we are 4 for 4. All 4 piston rings are set. So let's work together. Yeah, dude, I'm also happy for McDubbin being sober. McDubbin's the beast, man. He's El Jefe. And so I'm going to meet McDubbin and we're going to hang out. Seriously. I can't wait to meet McDubbin one day. Alright. So now we're down to piston ring installation. This is the I guess the easy or the hard part. Right here. Luis, I will make that. I will surely make that. Hell yeah, McDubbin. Dude, if I get my wife's Mark II or the Corrado done, we need to get them together in a photo shoot. Maybe we can meet halfway and then we can hang out and do stuff. I am so down for that. So down. Okay, so... okay. So piston rings, they go... The way you install them, you install the bottom first and you work your way up. Now, one big thing about piston rings, especially the oil one, since it's a 2-part ring, one thing you're going to need to see, where is it? Okay, see right there, it separates. Look at that. So you guys can see that. See how it separates? Okay, that little gap where it separates is right here. Look, see, this gap has to be the opposite. So that gap, you got to make sure it's on the opposite side of the actual gap that's in here. every single gap in this entire piston set, all of them have to be separate from each other. It is the way that they have to be assembled. That's just the nature of the process. So first things first, put the little oil thingy, spring thingy. I don't even know the term for this one, honestly. Okay. So that sucker goes in there. Now, making sure that your lettering is facing up, you're going to go one side at a time. You're going to walk it down. This is a 1.8T that we're building. Yeah, that's correct, McDovin. It was at the machine shop recently. He dropped off all the parts yesterday. I started building, and then my back started going out, so couldn't build any more last night. So we're going to finish the bottom end tonight for surezies. Okay. So bottom oil piston ring is done. Next one is the secondary one. Okay, and now we're the top one. I also got to buy the tool for these too. There's a special piston ring tool that makes life a lot easier instead of doing everything by hand. Alright, so cylinder number 4 is done. Right? Pinche espalda, man. Alright, now we're down to number 3. I'm going to show you guys what to do after you get all the rings done. Because there is a special procedure to setting the rings before you actually install them in the motor. That's not going to work. I always try to do that and it just never works. So, little springy. Again, I don't know the term for this one ring. So what do you do if the piston rings are not in spec? Thank you for asking. That's what this tool is here for. This is called a piston ring grinder. Let's assume that this piston ring is not within specification. What you do is you put your piston ring inside here, just like that, and you literally turn it and grind it for a bigger size to open the gap of the ring. That is it. You grind it, put it back in the cylinder, gap it. If it's too small, grind it again and again until you're within specification. Sometimes you get lucky, man. I got super, super lucky with this set. I've never had a set that I didn't have to grind down, and this is nutty that I actually had to do one today without grinding anything. I wanted to show you guys how to grind them down. It's not hard. It's super easy, but you have to be careful. You less is more. You know, take your time grinding them down. So. All right. Exactly. You can't ungrind them. So you do it once, do it 5 times, do it 10 times until you're within specification. Simple. Don't try to rush it and be like, oh, let me just grind even more. JB, well, you might as well just not have an engine. just don't bother. Don't forget that thing you need to do. What thing do I need to do, Ian? There's a lot of things I need to do. I don't know which one are you specific about. And thanks for tuning in, by the way. Tiny said it would be fine. Tiny is not allowed to give any type of advice. All right, McDubbin, have a good night, buddy. All right, cylinder number 3 is done. Have a good night, McDubbin. Be safe, buddy. Ian, what is the thing I need to do? You comment on something, now you don't respond. Oh, and by the way, guys, Ian is, we're going to be doing a big turbo build for Ian now. So, if you guys want to see that, we're going to be doing a nice, we already built his engine. We're going to be doing, we're going to be showing you guys the actual turbo build section now of his 1.8T build, like what turbo he's going with, the power, his tune, all that stuff. So that's coming up next on our channel. Like I said, I gotta give thanks to these guys, man, giving me content, because if not, we won't have any content at all. All right. Gun diving! What's up, buddy? That's right. Turbo hasn't shipped yet. Okay. Alright, one more cylinder, one more ring, and then we'll be done to the last piston here. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Cylinder number 3. Not yet, Ivan. I didn't contact them yet. Apparently, my wife already got a masseuse coming to my house for my back for next week, for the 26th. So I'm going to give that a try first, and then if that doesn't work, I'll contact your guy for sure. Nice, Luis. Dude, you lucked out, by the way, man. You totally lucked out getting all that cool stuff. All right. Oil ring. 2 more piston rings, almost, and then we're going to be installing them. And we'll give you guys a breakdown on how to seat piston rings correctly. Orient them, like give them the proper orientation, so you don't have an issue down the road with your motor. All right, piston number 1 done. 2, 3, and 4. All right, so let's talk about orientation. All right, super important for. Let's talk about piston number 1. Okay, now on Mark IVs, there is a slot here. See this groove? That groove is required for installation and where the piston's going to go. Number 2, there is a very specific way on how you're supposed to set your piston rings. And the way it works is, what I like to do is like to line up this gap with the top one. The second ring, you want to go as far as you can away from it. Kind of like a peace sign, you know? With even gaps on both sides. So the second piston ring, where is it? Here it is. I'll set it right there. And the third one, kind of there. So you'll see 1, 2, and 3. That's how you're supposed to set your piston rings before you install them in your motor. Vital process during the build process is to make sure those are always as far away as they are possible. Once they're in the motor, they're set, they will never move. So make sure that those are set like that. Because if not, what's going to happen is that if, say, this gap matches this gap, you're going to have compression. So you're going to have gases pass through this. You don't want that. That's why you have to set them away from each other as far as possible. Okay, 213. I don't have Sundays off, by the way. Fridays and Saturdays and Tuesdays are my days off, 213. Those are my only days I can link up with anybody. If anyone needs help or wants to do something, those are my days. So you have to give me a heads up, like a big heads up, because if I make plans, I'm sorry, but I can't stop what I'm doing if I have plans, all right, 213? So those are set. Now we're going to grab our compression tool. Right here, this guy. Now, one thing you need to learn about factory piston rings, pistons, or yeah, they're called cracked rods, and the reason for this, and I'll show you guys. They are very specifically cracked in a very specific manner. They're not machined like the integrated engineering rods. They're legitimately cracked on purpose. And you'll see, if you look at the surface, it's cracked. That's how these are made. And same with the other side. They're cracked in place. And what you do is you lay them down. They're cracked so perfect that they mate perfectly left and right. That's it. That's how these rods are designed. So one of the hard parts that people don't realize in how to install these, because they only go in one way, you can really mess up your install if these are not installed correctly, if they're installed with if they're flipped because they don't mate correctly, so it won't seat all the way down. So what you want to do, from the factory, they come painted to match them. Bring a flashlight with you when you slot the rod in. Make sure you have them labeled somehow. Give yourself a visual representation if you're using factory rods to find where they're supposed to be matching, you know. Have a way to identify the location of the rod and how they're mated. Because believe it or not, the 2 minutes or the 10 seconds that you look away and you go back to the block and you're like, okay, I'm ready to put it in, you forgot which way you turn the rod cap and you're done. You slap it on and it might be wrong, and then you're going to have very, very quick premature failure. And you don't want to install the rod with the cap on. You do want to install the rod with one of the bearings on. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Yes. Forge makes one. Forge makes an actual wastegate actuator that's legit. And it's also designed to bolt on KO3s and KO4s. So I actually recommend go to Forge's website and see if you can find a good one on there. They should still make them. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the last place I remember buying aftermarket actuators for internal wastegate turbos. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is compressing the piston rings. It's an annoying process because it sucks. It honestly does suck. So one of the steps I hate doing, because if you don't do it right, you can break a piston ring during install. Alright, so while I'm doing that, I gotta get the new rod bearings, which are somewhere around here. There they are. Give me just a second here. Alright, during bearing handling, limit the amount of oil touching the bearing. Okay, guys? You want the least amount of oil touching the machine surface of the rod. And same goes with the bearing. You want the least amount of surface touching this, like oil touching your rod bearing. Just be safe, making sure that this surface, the bottom surface is dry. The top one, you can put oil on this one, you just can't put oil on the bottom bearing, just so you guys know. So that bearing is installed. Now we're going to come over here and show you guys how to install the piston and the rod all together as one. Let's move over. Beep, beep. There we go. All right, so remember we talked about the front and the back of the engine. To me, this is also the front and this is the back where the exhaust is. This is the front with the intake manifold. So make sure when you install your setup, you want to make sure that the piston is facing this way. The orientation of the top of the piston is facing towards the back of the exhaust, not the front of the intake manifold, just so you guys know, because piston orientation is very vital for your installation. Yeah, don't shop on Wish. You go to Wish for underwear and lingerie. Yep, I agree. Wish exceeds the industry standard of OEM.
I don't think I'm gonna come out.
Huh? What?
I don't think I'm gonna come out. So I didn't know how much longer I'm gonna be.
Why? You're not feeling good?
I've just been vomiting.
Okay.
15 minutes. So.
Can you at least get the just the order number paperwork printed out? That's it.
I'm good, sure.
I'll take care of the rest. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm seating the band, so the piston rings aren't like going sideways, because if you get them sideways, yes, very specific. Not gonna lie. That's where I buy Tiny's lingerie. Tiny's not here to defend himself, so that's where I buy his chonies from. Okay, I can't get any tighter than that, so we're good. So we're here. Again, tap this in a circle. Make sure it's nice and tight. Also make sure that your piston is pretty much perfectly straight, because the rod's going to try to fall down, and as it's falling it might want to hit the crank, and if it gets stuck on its way down it can damage the bearing. So if you are afraid of that to happen, you can turn the crank a little bit, put a rag in here. Okay, put a rag in the bottom of the crank, so when you hit it down, it goes straight down and the rag will kind of absorb the impact. That way you don't damage anything.
There's 6 new orders.
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought you said there's 1.
Yes, I do buy it for my viewing pleasure. Give me a second, guys. Be right back. We're talking about buying Tiny laundry from Wish. Yeah.
Sold out on this power steering stuff.
If someone was asking.
No, I'm gonna put it as sold out. There's a couple in here. I'm not sure how much stuff they have left. There's 3 of them. That's fine. Let's put 0 on it. This one. There's one's a full kit, one's a coolant ball, and the other one is power steering.
I second guessed myself right now, so I had a feeling and I was wrong. I'm going to go check one more time before I did it. So the piston's actually, the notch has to be facing the oil dipstick. Okay, so now that we're here, we're going to go down a little slowly. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we're fully seated at the bottom. And that we're even. And what we do is that we're going to go hold it down like this, and you're going to be applying pressure down with this tool, and then you're going to hit it with the hammer going straight down. While you're applying pressure, pay attention. For any reason, if one of the rings pops out of here, stop. Do not proceed. Back it out and do it over. And apply pressure down on the block, okay guys? All right, here we go. Here we go. Piston number 1 installed. So what we're going to do next is flip the block upside down. And what we got to do is get that rod installed, because what's going to happen is that we're going to have to rotate the engine to make sure that we don't hit the crank as we're installing pistons. Now, you can go opposing. You can go this number 1 and number 4, rotate the crank, and then do number 2 and number 3. That's also another option, which I'm going to end up doing. So right now I'm pushing the piston up so it mates with the crank, just like that. And then I'm going to look where the marker is right here. That's my alignment, so I know where to put this bolt. So we have a lot of assembly lube already here. So just slide the rod. And there we go. So we can no longer use factory, you cannot reuse rod bolts. They're one-time use, so we have new rod bolts. We're not Tiny, who reuses stuff all the time. Don't do it. So, brand new rod bolts. As per the manual, you can go install them one of two ways. You can use oil, They don't require any season on that. You can dip them with oil, or you can use ARP fastener, bolt fastener. I believe I have both, so I'm gonna look for it. Here we go. Number 7. Yep. It just says to oil the threads. That's pretty much it. Tiny, stop giving horrible advice. Alright, so as per manufacturer specification, number 7. So there are 30 Newton meters plus a quarter turn. Alright? 30 Newton meters, guys. I will have to give that to you guys in just a moment in foot-pounds. Give me just a second here. Foot-pounds. So you set them to 22 foot-pounds, all right, guys? So what I'm going to do is set them at 22, and then I have to go back and mark them all for the quarter turn, because 22 and a quarter turn. Done. Alright, now to go back and do cylinder number 4. Vin, is a 2.0 T coil pack conversion worth it? No. There's no benefits to the 2.0 T coil pack besides cost. Believe it or not, it's actually cheaper to get 2.0 T coil packs than it is to get standard 1.8 T coil packs. I don't know why they're more expensive. I don't know. I can't give you an actual answer for that, but if you can get 2.0 T coil packs at a better price than 1.8, I get them. It's not really a conversion. It's the same thing. I mean, they literally use the same exact harness and everything. You just got to get the plate for them. That's all. But yeah, honestly, there's no actual real world benefit to a 2.0 T coil pack versus the stock one. Anybody in the real world, there's no dyno numbers in existence because again, it's just spark. It doesn't give you performance. It just burns fuel more efficiently. Can stitching? Yeah, why not? I would love for you to send me a motor. I'd love to build you a motor, man. That's what I do. Better yet, if you want to save money, you can have me go buy a motor from a junkyard and build you that motor so I can just ship that to you. That'll save you anywhere from like $200 to $400, by the way. A penny, again, penny saved is a penny earned, so I can save you money by pulling motors for you. We got motors for days out here in junkyards for 1.8 Ts. What's up? You feeling better?
No.
Then go to bed.
I don't want to lay down yet.
Okay. Kenny, no, not yet. That's actually in the works for building an O2J. That is what I'm trying to do next, is to teach you guys how to build a transmission. That's kind of my next project down the road, but believe it or not, building transmissions is more expensive than building engines, just so you know. Yeah, Ken, hit me up whenever you can, man. I'm definitely open to helping anybody out. Alright, here we go. Piston number 4 going down. Voila! Alright, bring this guy around. Same thing, push the guy up. Now this one seems a little more on the dry side, so I'm going to dump some assembly lube. Yeah, don't listen to Tiny. Luis, don't offer a confirmation for this stuff, dude. Some people will listen to us, and I don't want to get in trouble for people listening to Tiny. Hopefully you guys understand. Joe Garcia is a pathological liar on this on our live feed. So I love the guy, but man. Alright, that piston's in. Let's get its rod bearing for the bottom done. Where are the common oil leaks on a 1.8T? All over it. But jokes aside, most common places for 1.8Ts to leak is, give me a second here. The rear main seal is one place. Oil pan, second place. Oil cooler and the turbo. That's pretty much the most common places for them to leak. Oh yeah, and the half moon valve cover gasket. Yeah, valve cover gasket and the half moon seal, which is also super notorious for leaking. My bad. I forgot that one too. Yeah, if you guys don't know about HL's Garage skid plates, we make skid plates for Mark IVs that cover the entire underbelly of the car, of the engine bay. I'm the only guy that makes a skid plate for a Mark IV that does that. They are heavy, but they're designed to bend and absorb impact and not actually crack. They are a little bit of a process to install, but once you understand how to install the skid plate, it is, I'm kidding you not, it is a miracle worker. Alright, 22 foot-pounds for this rod. Remember, 22 foot-pounds plus a quarter turn, but we're going to do the quarter turn after. So now we're going to do the last cylinder number 2 and number 3. Tiny. It's one Ugga, no Dugga. Oh my god.
That's the next shirt.
Yeah, we gotta make a shirt that says Ugga Duggas.
Tiny quotes. Should have a tiny quote series.
I have to. We have to make a shirt series by Tiny.
Tiny quotes.
Give him some of the profits, you know? I am so down for that. Oh man. The god awful advice that Tiny gives to people is so bad.
Is he on there now?
He's been on here. He's been on since the beginning.
You said he wasn't on there earlier when you were talking about buying stuff on Wish.
Well, I'm thinking to make a shirt that says 22 pounds plus Ugga Duggas or one Ugga or how tight? Ugga Dugga.
One Ugga, no Dugga.
Oh my god, Tiny cracks me up. I love it. Because I don't care, it's your channel. Thanks, Tiny. Thanks. I feel the friendship there. Our friendship bond is so strong. All right. Then we tap. Make sure this is flat all around. Push it down. Just one more confirmation that we need to make sure this is nice and tight. There we go. Cylinder number 2 is done. I guess I can do number 3 right next to it. Exactly. Use brass fittings for everything. Cheap, affordable. Alright, we're down to the last piston, guys. Later this week, we're going to build the head. We're missing a couple parts, so we're just waiting for those to come in. And then we'll build the head together. I just love the conversations you guys have on here. All right. Got piston rings all set. Get this sucker nice and tight. Same thing. Line it up. And give this a nice there we go. Giovanni. Nice boob picture, buddy. All right. Get one more pat down. There we go. Voila! Isa done! Now we turn it around and finish it up. So cylinder 2. All right, bring up cylinder piston number 2 up here. Get that assembly lube. You guys, your guys' comments are wild. When you stroke out an engine, when you make it from a 1.8 to a 2 or 2.1 liter, it's not that it's making more power, it's making more efficient power. So you're going from a 1.8 to a 2 liter to 2.1 liter. So your volume is increasing. So you're making more power due to volume. It's not like it can handle more. It's just it can make more power. And it can make more power efficiently because you're having more volume come out. The block is what handles the power mostly, plus the crank. So it really does depend on your power goal. For example, let's assume both style 1.8 or a 2 liter stroker both set 400 horsepower. However, the 1.8 makes full power 44,000 almost to 5,000 RPMs, where a 2 liter will probably make it around the 3,000 RPM range. So sooner, because it's more efficient because you're pushing more volume of air out, so you're able to spool that turbo much faster. Okay, so how much does it cost to build a, pretty much, let's assume, say a 400, 500 horsepower motor? Technically my average, now this is me building it. This is not a shop building. If you had a shop build it, you're looking anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 for a shop to build you a block with that capability. Because again, you have to factor in shop hours and all that. That's expensive. At $100 to $150 an hour, you get, it's expensive. Just forewarning you. So if you just do it the way I do it, the way I build motors, in other words, I do it for you, and you just donate to my YouTube channel. Again, I don't charge you labor. I charge in knowledge. That's how I do my charge. As long as you're willing to understand how we build motors and why we do certain things the way we do it, then that is my fee. So typically you need rods. Okay, so rods, if you're going to stay under the 500 horsepower range, then you can use stock pistons. You can use stock piston rings. So stock piston rings. You want to get high performance rod bearings and high performance main bearings. So rods, piston rings, main bearings, rod bearings, all the gaskets, all the seals. You want to upgrade if you're going to go beyond the 400 horsepower range, then you have to do a full valve train. If you're going to stay under the 400 horsepower range, then you can do intake and exhaust valves. So if you do intake and exhaust valves, all the machine work, you're looking just under $2,000 for your entire build, give or take, because prices have been fluctuating right now. Give or take about $200 to $400. So it can go from, again, $2,000 to almost $2,400 for a fully built 500 horsepower engine, 400 to 500 horsepower engine that will be bulletproof for its entire life, up to 100 to 200,000 miles easily. The catch is being able to take care and maintain that setup. But yeah. Hopefully that helps. Because shops, again, are going to charge you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 in just labor to get that motor built. So when you build one with me, it's free. You just got to pay for parts and the machine shop work. The machine shop labor is where I can't get you guys for free, unfortunately. I had to pay them. Exactly, so 1.5 stimmies. That's funny. You know I don't want a VR. I like them. I really like VR engines, but I don't care for them. Oh, needs assembly loop. Yes, you have to remove everything. If you're gonna do just rods, you have to rebuild the entire motor. The thing is that people don't understand is when you build an engine, building half an engine is a half-ass job. Simple, plain and simple. If you want to go halfway with your build, by all means, go for it. You know, but remember, you're half-assing it. You're not building a motor. You're literally just dropping rods in, and you have to take the engine apart because you have to put the rods through the head, to the top of the engine. It's a part. Might as well finish it all off and do it right. You got to understand that when you take apart the block, you know, and you're investing just rods. Well, now that's the only thing that's brand new. Your main bearings are going to be old. You're going to stress the engine out even more with more heat. So that means you have now a higher risk of other type of point of failures. You know, it's just smarter to do everything than half of the work. Because, yeah, now you have new rods. So that's not going to fail on you. But the main bearings are old. They're 100,000+ miles old. The valves are old. The cams are not the cams, but the seals are old. I mean, yeah, you know. You know, there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to do it. I mean, you can do it right, or you do it twice. That's my motto, and I stick with that because it's 100% true. And then at the end of the day, people end up blaming the car because the car's broken, you know, oh, it failed, and cheap engine, or because it's a VW. Not really. It's probably because you did half the job. You know, so hopefully that helps. Have a good night, Ian. So hopefully that helps with your question, man. How much my white Golf? It's pushing right now about 450, but I drive it at 300 to 320. I drive my car at low boost. I really don't care for high boost application. I just like having fun with my car. But yeah, I mean, I built it for almost 500 wheel, but I don't drive it at that power. I drive it again at 300 plus. All right. Good night, Luis. Have a good night, everybody. Yeah, maintenance is key, 100% on these cars. You can't be like that one guy. I'll change the oil next time. I'll change the oil next time. Nah, man, you gotta change the oil all the time. Keep an eye on that coolant. Keep an eye on pretty much everything, man. So now we're gonna mark these for quarter turns. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. And again, I do this not to make a profit. I do this to make the world, honestly, a better place. I know it's kind of cheesy to say that, but it brings us together, you know? You know, you talk to me now because you never met me, but now we're talking and we're having fun and we're learning. That's why I do this. This is why I do Pinche Al's Garage, man. It's all about the community. Exactly. 100%. Yeah, my wife's wagon got eaten by rats. It freaking sucks, man. All right, so 22 foot-pounds plus a quarter turn. Those are done. We just got to do the ones down below, and the block is done. All right. That's awesome, Ken. I appreciate that, man. I got a lot of videos on here. 6 years worth to be exact.
I think it's longer.
Maybe 7 years.
We've been here 7 years.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. That's when we started, though.
Well, we did some at the house.
Those weren't Pinche Al's Garage videos.
Oh.
They were just videos. All right. All done. So I can't do the rest of the bottom end yet. We're waiting for the oil tensioner that sits here. Just so you guys know, that sits over here. Right here, this is gear right here for the oil pump. This gear pretty much mans the pump that sits right up here. And there's a chain that goes with it, and there's a little tensioner that sits right here that tensions the chain. I don't have that yet. We're missing that one part to finish the complete bottom end block to assemble it. But tonight we pretty much did all the pistons, did all the rings, seated the block. Look how beautiful that looks, man. Looks so good. Everything's installed, rings and everything gapped correctly, all the rings oriented correctly, all done, ready. Pretty much all we have now is I'm gonna tape this off. We're gonna paint the block, get it all cleaned up, and paint the block a beautiful color. Probably gonna be black. I think the owner just wants it black as well, so I'll do a nice satin black paint job on it. We're gonna mask off a lot of stuff so no paint gets anywhere. But yeah, we're almost done. All we need to, again, is the front main seal, the rear main seal, oil pump and the chain and tensioner, and then the pickup tube, oil pan, and that's it. That's the entire bottom of the block. Then we're gonna need the oil cooler housing, oil cooler, and then obviously an oil filter. And then here, obviously, the rest of the assembly, we're gonna do the timing. Once we finish building the head, then we'll set all the timing and everything, and then the block will be done. It's gonna be pretty cool, pretty easy. Let's see. I'm getting tiny. So, what is the most painful thing you remove the engine from the car? I don't understand the question, Ken. What do you mean the most painful thing? Like I mean, I can give you the worst experience I've ever had from a car. Me and my buddy Hyro, this is a long time ago, by the way. I was helping him build a VR6, and we lifted the engine out of the cherry picker, and one of the legs, the bolt, the little pins that hold the bolt, snapped. The engine legitimately fell on me. I caught it, and then adrenaline did its job. I kid you not. I lifted and held a complete assembled VR6 engine for like 15 seconds like this. And the engine was on my chest, and I was holding it, like deadlifting it, while my buddy got the leg, pushed the leg back down, crammed a screwdriver or something into the leg, and I dropped the engine. That next day, when I went home, I had a bruise from this shoulder all the way to the bottom of my stomach. And it was like the most painful 3 weeks of my life after that. So I guess if that's what your question is, yeah.
Or maybe the hardest thing you've done.
The hardest thing I've ever done, if you want to talk about difficult, like really difficult, was actually learning how to do 1.8, doing timing on 1.8Ts. To me, after doing it like a good 50 to 70, maybe over 100 times, the very first 10 times, it's been the hardest for me. Like, I kid you not, really, really hard for me to do. It's been actually pretty difficult. Like I said, it's a big, long journey. And now I can do timing on a 1.8T like the back of my hand. It's so easy. But back then, it's been pretty hard. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to call that the most difficult thing. Tearing apart an engine has been super easy. Doing the head, the timing on the head is beyond easy. I cannot tell you how easy that is to do. But timing the head and the block is actually the hardest thing for me to learn, to get the hang of it. You want to know how my pains began, my back pain? Long time ago, when I was a child, well, not a child, a teenager, 17, 18, I actually worked in a factory. I worked in a factory called Hydronautics in Oceanside, next to the junkyard in Oceanside. We used to make they used to make water filters, seawater filters for like the aquariums all over the world. These filters were like 4 feet tall, and what they do is that they make them out of fiberglass, and they have all the filtration system inside. We have to dunk them in a fluid called glycol, and when you put them in there, it makes them super buoyant but extremely heavy. I know it's kind of a weird combination, but to take them out of the vat that we soak them in, you literally have to. It's a cylinder about probably like a 10-inch round cylinder. You go and you grab it from the top, and you bounce it, and then you literally just bounce it as fast as you can out, and you have to throw them out, and you catch them, and you put them on the ground immediately. I did that job for like 4 months. On the last month I worked there, I knew I shouldn't have done it. There was a really big, like 12-inch one, and typically I don't do those when I was working there, but the guy called out, so I had to do them. So I was grabbing them, dunking, yank it out. I caught it, and it slipped, and it literally pushed my back into the worst position possible, and that is actually how my back problem started. I didn't get workman's comp because it was my fault for
You're young.
yeah, I was young, didn't think about it. That was a long time ago, huh? Yes, the Big 12. You guys are awesome. I stream a lot, believe it or not, Ken. We stream here probably once or twice a week on average. There are dry sessions, again, when we don't have anything to stream. I'm going to sit down. I'm a little tired, but we're done with the block, so I might as well chat with you guys for a little while. You get my little chair. But believe it or not, there's not a lot for me to stream on here when I don't have any work. I get lucky when I do free work. What part of the engine needs machine work? There's quite a few parts. Number one, the cylinder walls have to be honed, not machined. The only time when you machine cylinder walls is when you bore them, when you enlarge the cylinder. Then you have the top of the engine, which is what we call the deck. So on top of here you got this, and then we deck it. So what the machine shop does is that they get this very special precise little blade, and it literally goes around in a circle and cuts the top of the engine. The reason for this is so you get a perfectly flat surface. You want this because when you install your head gasket, it creates a pure, phenomenal tight seal, like it's brand new from the factory. And then on a head, they do the exact same thing. Let me go bring my head over here. So, right here, you'll see here that this head is super shiny. And that's because it was decked. They don't sand it, they don't polish it. This is legitimately just cut with a very precise blade, and they cut it so it's machined perfectly flat. And then you'll see this pink stuff down here. Now that's a grinding solution, and it's also a visual representation for them to grind down the valves, seats. This is vital whenever you rebuild an engine, because you want all your valves to seal perfect. You don't want to have oil leaking through them or exhaust gases leaking through them during your engine when it's running. So they grind them all down. You'll see they're nice and shiny. That's how you know they're grinded down all the way down to their factory spec. And same with the head, is grinded down or cut. But this is called decking the head and then decking the block. You're required to do both sides to create a perfect factory seal when you install your head gasket. And then you'll see the head is gorgeous. It's clean. The reason for this is because they got hot tanked. They use a special chemical that's not superheated, but really hot, and they literally just machine wash it until it looks like this. It looks gorgeous. It has this. They use this tanking method to, number one, look for any imperfections in the metal. Number two, to look for cracks or warping in the block, and just general wear and tear of an engine. That's pretty much what it's for, to inspect while they're machining or building and disassembling an engine. It's very, very vital during the rebuild process to have them hot tanked, decked, and machined and honed, and valve seats grinded. That way, when you put all your new parts together, all your shiny parts, they fit perfect. Casting couch. They don't use Purple Power or Super Clean. It's I don't know what the chemical is called. But yeah, this is how you, it looks brand new. But this way, when you finish your engine and your build, it's gonna last you another 100,000+ miles without a single hiccup. That's what you want. That's when you rebuild an engine. You're not partially building an engine. You're rebuilding an entire engine for the long haul, not for the short run. That's the whole purpose of this process. Is so when you put your engine back together and you start doing things, it's ready to drive and you're ready to enjoy it for another 5-10 years. Whether you keep it or not, that's up to you. And it's not an expensive job, believe it or not. This is usually anywhere from $300 to $500, depending on the amount of work they have to do. Whenever I take my blocks to the machine shop, I always give them bare blocks. I don't give them anything to work on. I always try to give them the least amount of possible work. That way, it costs me very, very minimal amount of money. That's how I save money when I build engines, by cutting the cost, by cutting the amount of work required for the machine shop to do. Because you got to keep in mind that machine shops have to take everything apart. They got to organize. They got to do everything. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for them. So if you cut the amount of work and they just do their machining, money. You save a lot of money. Plain and simple. Ken, it depends. Okay, so that question is very difficult to answer. So, do you have to machine the block every time if you have to replace the head gasket? Number one, Mark IVs are not known for bad head gaskets, okay? It's extremely rare that a 1.8T, 2-point slow, even a VR6 to have a head gasket failure, due to the type of head gaskets they use in comparison to other manufacturers. And when I mean it's rare, I mean it's super rare that a head gasket fails on a Volkswagen engine. Now, if you ever have an engine, a head gasket fail, is due to quite a few things. Number one, overheating. You drove the car without coolant or without oil. That's pretty much it. Number two, it has a gajillion miles on it and it finally failed on you. That's literally the only other reason. That's it. That's the only reasons why I've ever seen a Volkswagen engine have a head gasket failure. A lot of times people have a symptom where they think it's a head gasket and it's the oil cooler. The oil coolers on these cars are notorious for leaking coolant into the engine. It's a common problem for them to fail. Good thing it's a super easy fix. It's legitimately $50 to fix it. Drain the oil, pop in a new oil cooler, and call it a day. Yeah, you overheated it to cause it. But I'm talking about like I'm talking about a natural failure where the head gasket legitimately just failed just due to just owning it. It's not normal. It's impossible rare for a head gasket to go bad on a 1.8T. So let's assume it does go bad where you overheated it. So what happens when two metals get really hot? When two dissimilar, especially the dissimilar, you have cast iron and you have aluminum. When two dissimilar metals get extremely hot, the natural occurrence, what's going to happen, it's going to warp. So you have to deck it. The bottom block, the top head, are no longer going to mate evenly because they're going to warp just slightly. That is the natural occurrence of metal, and especially two dissimilar metals where you have iron and aluminum. So no matter what, when that head comes off, you're going to have to deck it. Now let's assume you don't need a head gasket. You're just popping off the head because maybe you're doing some custom engine work, or maybe you're doing some work to the head. There is a different scenario. So in that kind of scenario where you're actually forced to take off the head because you're building it, if you just decked it, like say you built the engine, you're like, oh man, I made 400, but I want to go even higher, so you go with a different head. If you just decked it, like say 2-3 months, and you just drove it kind of hard, but you never overheated it, then yes, you don't need to deck the block. You will need to deck the head because you're probably going to replace it, or you're building it and you might have to redeck it just in case. But remember, when machine shops deck them, they're taking 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch off, which is less than a hair thick. It's very, very little material that's coming off. It's not changing that much in height in your block. Manufacturers actually design them to get decked multiple times. It is what they prematurely assume these there's actually a wear line on here on these blocks to how many times you can deck them before it's a useless block. Yeah, don't use sandpaper. Jesus. Yeah, never, don't listen to Tiny. But again, you can reuse the block if you just had it decked, and again, if you're trying to do something else that didn't cause any type of premature failure to the block, perfectly fine to just clean off the head. Don't use sandpaper, just clean it off and pop in a brand new head gasket. Perfectly fine to do that. That is allowed to happen. But besides that, there's not much else you need to do to reinstall a head gasket. But let's assume you just built an engine and you raced it, and you're on your way home driving it and it overheats. And it overheats bad. You're going to have to redeck that head and that block. You're going to have to. It's going to warp. I guarantee you it's going to go beyond its thermal threshold and it's going to warp. Again, it's a natural occurrence with dissimilar metals getting super hot. I can't give you a better answer than that, honestly. That's pretty much the nature of it. Any other questions? I'm looking at your guys' comments here.
I bet Tiny has a solution.
Yeah, you know it's bad when Al skips anything Tiny or I have to say. Yes, it is bad. Because you guys just keep commenting so much BS. It's so hilarious. I love it. The comments are phenomenal. I mean, I can't argue it. CMU block. I love it. Oh, man. Again, the comments are for you guys. You know, you guys are having fun. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this tonight. Again, we just finished building a bottom end, and now tomorrow, hopefully I get the rest of the parts. I can build a top end on there, and then we'll finish off the bottom end as well, and then we'll probably mate them at the end of the week. Yeah, when it warps, I use 3 head gaskets to save money. Do you know how much a head gasket costs? It's cheaper to deck it than to get 3 head gaskets. Oh my god. That's so bad. Oh my god. Giovanni, ¿por qué eres tan chingón now? I don't honestly think I'm tan chingón. I just am having fun. I like having fun and being, just having fun with you guys. That's right, Luis. That's right. Wow, you can make 400 horsepower or HP 1. You can make way more power than 400. 400 is just my goal. It's not hard. You can. There's guys out there making 800 to 1,000 horsepower on these little tiny engines. Oh yeah, welcome Shane. By the way. Exactly. That's the equation. 3 head gaskets means lower compression means more power. But yeah, no, 400 horsepower on my build is subtle. You can make way more, man. You can wait, but your price keeps going up and up and up when you want to go beyond the 500. All right, Shane, have yourself a good night, buddy. When you go beyond the 500 horsepower range, there's a lot more you have to factor in, and I can give you guys kind of like the description. So let's assume we're doing a 500 horsepower build. All right, let's assume we're doing that. So, or we're going maybe 600. Let's just shoot for 600 horsepower. All right. Okay, so number one, you can do it with a 1.8T. You don't need a 2-liter stroker. You can do it with a 1.8. You can stroke it out and make it even easier, but your cost keeps going up. So let's shoot for 500-600 wheel horse. Number one, your limit with stock pistons is the magic number, 500. Your limit with stock rods, the magic number is 300. So you're going to have to upgrade rods and pistons. Pretty straightforward. So you're going to get integrated engineering drop-in rods, which are good up to 600 to 700 horsepower. Then you have to go to Wesco pistons or JE pistons. Those are 2 pistons that are highly recommended for 1.8T builds. So you can drop compression or stick with stock compression. Not a big deal. Wesco pistons are going to be perfect for a drop-in solution, but you're going to have to go to 20 millimeter wrist pins. You can't do 19 millimeters. So if you're going to do rods, make sure you order 20 millimeter drop-in rods, and you get your pistons, because they're always going to be 20 millimeter wrist pins for pistons. You're not going to find them in 19. So we got those. That portion of the formula is done. All right. All right. So that's your beginning. The next step for your quest for 600 horsepower, or your quest for over 500, is this guy. This is the weakest point next after 500 horsepower, is this spot right here, the crank gear. The crank gear is legitimately held by a little key guide that's like a little piece of shaving metal that's probably 3-4 millimeters thick. That's all that holds this thing, plus this bolt. So what you have to do is you have to get an a press-in crank gear. You cannot no longer use the standard crank gear. You have to press it in. It has to be used by a press and get it pressed in. And then you get what they call an ARP crank bolt. Those 2 are your formula for not shearing this gear right here into total destruction. Buying a faster car is actually not cheaper, believe it or not. I get that a lot. So once you get that pressed in and all that done, you're set. The next step of your formula, you can't weld them because it changes the balance. Okay. Next, you have to get what they call a girdle. There's a billet piece that goes right in here that pretty much supports the block from twisting. Once you go beyond like 500 horses, this block will actually twist with the amount of torque that these engines create. And then you're going to upgrade the main caps to billet caps. You can no longer use the standard cast iron caps. You have to go to billet caps to hold the amount of force when the crank pushes down. So you're going to have to upgrade that part and those caps. And then now your block, the bottom end, is ready pretty much for 500 to 600 wheel horse all day. Next stop is your head. Your head, you can no longer use a AWP head. You go buy an AEB head from an Audi or a Passat. 98, 99, 2000, I believe. Those engines, those heads are phenomenal for big horsepower. You don't have to do anything to the head at all. Just buy upgraded, do a Ferrera valve train, which will put you about $15,000 to almost $2,000. Install that, and pretty much you're done. There's your 600 plus horsepower build all day. But by the time you're done, you're like $5,000. So keep that in mind. That is how you build a monstrosity engine if you want to go big power. Now, there are shortcuts. There's actually a couple shortcuts you can make. So one of the quick shortcuts, if you guys want to make huge power and not break an engine, and this is a trick what a lot of people do, put a bigger turbo in it. Believe it or not, the bigger and bigger that you go with the turbo, your torque curve goes like this, your horsepower goes like this. So they don't run with each other. So if you build an engine just right and port the living crud out of it, you can cut a lot of corners. But the downside is, are you building it for straights or are you building it for turns? Pretty straightforward. Torque is what kills engines, not horsepower. Horsepower is how fast you can spin it. Torque is the amount of force that it creates to move the vehicle or to move the engine. Torque is what is your killer. That is what's going to break any engine, period. You can have 1,000,000 horsepower and like 200 pounds of torque. You ain't going to go anywhere fast, but eventually once you start moving, you'll get there super fast. So learn how to drop your torque curve, increase your horsepower by playing with different types of turbos. Going bigger turbo does do that for you. Your torque curve turns into garbage, but your horsepower goes up. So when you're going towards the end of your RPM range, you're going fast, and you can go stupid fast, and you can save your engine by cutting that corner. If you can cut your torque curve, you can literally do a basic 400 horsepower build, and you can go to 600 wheel horses all day, and you won't break an engine. But for any reason, that turbo decides to either go sideways, where it just wants to just spool even more, and that torque curve just goes erratic. There's the end of your engine. Pretty straightforward. You just use the knife to cut it. You guys, now VR6s. I'm going to talk about a little bit about VR6s because VR6s are super cool engines. If you want to make a lot of power, you go to a 24 valve. If you want to make a lot of fun power, but on a budget, you go to a 12 valve. Now, A 12 valve, you don't have to do anything to the engine to boost it. You can go up to 10 to almost 12 psi on a 12 valve and make 300 to 400 wheel horsepower just by slapping a turbo on it. You can go to 400 horsepower by putting a spacer in it and putting some ARP rods, not ARP hardware on the top and bottom, and it'll take 400 wheel, almost 500 wheel horsepower just by doing basic bolt-ons to a VR6 block 12 valve. For some reason, the 12 valve just loves boost. 24 valves, you got to do a little bit more work. They're a little different in how they're made. So 12 valve, if you upgrade the rods and pistons, you can make you can go, sky's the limit on power. 24 valve, if you guys know my buddy Malacca Motorsports, George, he has pretty much an 800 horsepower 24 valve engine, and those things are ridiculous. And there's not a lot of work required to make that kind of power, just so you guys know. It's not a lot of work. It's really refining what you're putting into your block and understanding how turbos work is all that matters. So Luis, think about it as your comment there. Think about it as a kind of an insurance. Yeah, you put all ARP hardware, but now, say 4 years down the road, you know what? I put 80,000 miles on this engine or 100,000 miles. Why not boost it afterwards? You'll be able to. Giovanni, that's right. George and Stavo. Funny thing, George, Stavo I didn't get to meet until afterwards, but George, I've known George for many years. I known him before he actually had Malacca Motorsports. So George, I actually knew him before he had a VR6 in his B5 S4. He actually had a 2.7 KO4 setup, and then he had the big turbo on it, and then he went into VRs afterwards. George definitely he's a nice guy. Super nice guy. Yeah, I love them. Once Corona is over, I'm actually gonna go down and race with him. He invited me to go out and race with him on the mile runs, so I definitely want to go take my GTI and see what it can do on the long runs. I know it's not going to be super fast as all the other cars, but it'll be definitely a fun run. Yeah, no, definitely. They're definitely super cool dudes. Again, I known them for years. They used to hang out with us all the time here at our car meets that we had around here. So, again, it's one of those things just down the road. I want to do a couple of videos with them because, again, I love them. They're super cool people. And
follow them.
Yeah, and follow them. Yeah, definitely. Look up Malacca Motorsports. It's super easy to find. Again, super cool group of dudes. Definitely follow their channel. They have some pretty cool stuff that they build on their channel. So, I highly recommend it. Besides that, though, if you guys have no more questions, before you leave, guys, before you just immediately just exit the video, if you like what we do and you want the channel to keep growing, our next season of Peach Owl's Garage needs your help. Go to our campaign, Indiegogo.com, and look up Peach Owl's Garage and donate $2 if you can. If you could donate more, please, I would love it. But please help our channel out because we cannot make any more videos after this. Pretty much this whole season's up. Once it's up, we're done. We are bone dry here. Again, just because COVID hit us hard, I know it hit you guys hard too. And believe me, it is a lot to ask for a $2. I know it is a lot to ask, but I'm asking for your guys' help because we need it here at Peach Owl's Garage. We need it to succeed, and we want to be able to give you guys even more cool content. But to do that, we're asking for your help.
Whatever you can.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you can. Our donations start at $2 and go up from there. But if you guys can,
and join us for the waxing.
Oh yeah, and join us this Saturday for the waxing.
Save your
live.
dollars.
Save your dollars for...
Yeah, save some money for Saturday because we're going to be waxing our arms and our legs with me, Tiny, Rob, and possibly Ivan. So definitely get excited for that if you guys are part of that. Also, if you guys like our stuff that we do here, pick up some merchandise on our online store at pinchowsgarage.com. All the money from that goes back into Pinchow's Garage. It helps pay for lighting, cameras, tools, and a lot of the contests that we do here at Pinchow's Garage.
Now that's back for you.
And again, it all goes back to you guys. That's the whole point of this channel, is to give back the maximum amount possible to make the community great for everyone, not just the individual, but for everyone. So thank you again, everybody. And as always, here at Pinchow's Garage, if you're going to be a dubber, if you're going to be on the road, if you see another dubber on the road, give him a thumbs up, give him some deuces, respect one another, and as always, here, we're going to break, we're going to fix, and we're going to repeat. Peace out, everyone, and have a wonderful night. All right? Thank you again, and much love from my family to yours as well.
I was like, did you forget?